We all want to be so special, don't we? So on this journey of manifestation, while I've been mostly focusing on myself for the most part, just trying to get to, or should I say, developing that desired reality, whatever you choose to call it, I've noticed something interesting recently, and that is we really want to be special. Like, we honest and truly all want to be our own super individual circumstances that are so super individual to us that we forget that we are literally the exact same person multiplied by billions. You either have the desired reality of those who are living their best life, who are living in abundance, living in their purpose. You have those who have a desired reality of being helpers, of being business people, of being wealthy. Everybody has their own sort of variation of what that means, and that's great. I have my own as well. I love that. I love that for all of us. I love that for myself. It's fantastic. However, there seems to be an idea behind manifestation where some people feel as though life is happening to them. And we've all heard it before. If you're in that circle, things don't happen to you, you make choices, and some people choose to be in that state. And some people cultivate and manifest problems, and they choose to be a problem, and then somehow their entire personality is the problem that they've manifested. And what's so unique about it is these types of people enjoy being a victim. It's almost as if it's the concept behind those Facebook posts or any kind of social media, or anytime you have those types of friends or associations with people who kind of post the "you know my name, you don't know my story" sort of deal. I heard that recently. I saw it in the flesh. I saw a physical person come out and say that exact sentence, and it was almost like a fight or flight response of, wait, you actually exist? I mean, I suppose that's kind of how the universe works. We are all a mirror image of each other, so I suppose I'm not surprised. And yet it's so fascinating to see it in the flesh of what that person looks like, and then to see it in front of you manifested, an actual flesh and blood human being, and it puts the whole journey into perspective. It's almost as if you just told me a life story, or you told me an example of what happened to you, which sounds like you've made some significant decisions that have led you to this point. And yet, when you don't get the response of, "Ah, yes, good for you," or "Ah, yes, that makes sense, good for you, fantastic," it's an immediate shutdown. It's as if you require people to bow to your victimhood as if some sort of martyrdom. And I suppose that isn't something new, and yet it is fascinating to watch it in the flesh, to watch it happen as a third party, especially when you do the internal work of saying, "I refuse to be in this state." Now, of course, we must understand that we are the mirror images of each other. We are all the same person. So if anything about this annoyed me, the one take I can get from this is maybe because I refuse victimhood, to see somebody capitalize off of it pissed me off so much that it stirred an energy within me. And at first that energy was just anger. Like, who are you to tell me I don't understand what's happening? You don't know me either. And what I find is that those who live off of being a victim, and I truly need to drill into this, that you can call it whatever you please. Oh, these poor people went through a lot. Honestly, truly, I don't care. Because there does come a point where you start making decisions after your event, if you will. Now you're making a choice. And you're continuing to make choices. And for some reason, it is profiting for you to continue to make these choices. How that is, I don't know. You are not me, I am not you. However, it is continuing. So when you are so mindful of that, and to see somebody not be, or I suppose they're mindful of the personal drama of their lives, it's baffling. It's almost as if, do you not want to get out of that? Did you not want to create something for yourself? And what that situation did is it It was the mirror I needed of my own polarity of refusing victimhood. In a sense, to watch it happen in the flesh when you are on that journey of building strength and building your personal reality and building your desired reality, when you see people now who actively choose these decisions that have an outcome where everything is happening to them and life is happening to them and all these bad things always happen to them and God forbid anything else bad happens, that they really like talking about. They really like talking about how bad everything is. I guess the best example of that is when you're watching a TV show and you know how it's going to end because the viewer has information that the characters in that show does not have. That's exactly what this was. And this person is relaying information to me, and I'm looking at this person saying, well, that doesn't sound unique. That sounds like maybe we should be thinking about this, or perhaps taking another look at this. And yet, to be shut down so quickly, like, well, you don't know anything. Well, one, you don't know that. How are you so sure that your circumstance is so special that the person talking to you doesn't know? And two, what was interesting about that interaction is anything that didn't align with what your desired reality is, real interesting, we get back to that point. It is suddenly wrong, and yet you complain of things not going your way. It did piss me off. To be so real with you, it was such a quickly angering experience, but it was one of those, you know, when like your ears get warm or your heartbeat starts up, you're like, oh, who do you think you are? And yet it dissipated, it stopped. It stopped fairly quickly because what I saw was a person who needed to feed off of people's validation so much so because they had in no way, shape, or form established a sense of self. And that is something that I refuse to give into. And it's something I've had conversations about with people. Why exactly is it that I have to do the work on myself, but you get to not do anything at all because you, for example, you know, are not as strong, or oh, you know, people work at their own pace. That's great for you. Fantastic. I want you to work on your pace. I want you to, you know, work the way that you need to get to where you need to be. Everybody is at their own pace. Yes, we all know that, but there is a massive difference between working at your own pace and choosing not to keep up because God forbid you get hurt. God forbid that you get uncomfortable with the process. God forbid something happens to you where you actually get challenged on your beliefs and your internal emotions and mixing them up with your knee-jerk reaction and feeling. God forbid that happens. We'll do anything else except acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, I'm the problem. Maybe, just maybe, it is in fact your fault. Perhaps at the time of your circumstances, it wasn't your fault. Or perhaps you were blindsided. Life happens, it surely will. However, you do have options and choices. When the actual circumstances and event stops, or you're no longer in that event, everything else is a choice. Everything after that is a choice. And I know there are some people, because I have interacted with them in person, and I've said those things, and it comes off cold and emotionless, and oh no. But people, you know what, people, I'm so sorry for you, and I'm so sorry whatever it is happened, but at the same time, what exactly are you going to do? Are you going to be there forever? Are you going to sit there forever? Because really the conclusion's the exact same. The conclusion always comes down to you need to figure this out so you can move on. And you move on effectively, not just suppress it and, you know, mask it with hobbies and people and events and music and other things to suppress the problem. It is the active acknowledgement of the emotions behind it. It is the active acknowledgement of what happened and actively taking the time to process what happened, because that's an important step too. But then making the decision to say, I will not be this way. This will not dictate my life. This will not dictate who I am. This won't dictate how I navigate things. This is simply a lesson that I need to learn at this point in my life. But why is it such a problem? Because when you meet people who are actively acknowledging that part of themselves and they call you out and you choose to step back and be like, oh God, no. Don't do that. That hurts my feelings. Maybe you need to get your feelings hurt. Maybe you need to get your feelings hurt. Maybe we need to stop as a whole overt consideration, I think, of people and their feelings. I really do. And what I mean by that is not necessarily not acknowledging people's emotions, not acknowledging circumstances, and just bulldozing them as if they were nothing. No, you should to an extent. And I mean this with a grain of salt, an extent. Consider what's happening. But there does come a point where you are not owed anybody's kindness. You are not owed somebody's niceties. You're not owed anybody's, oh, poor babies. You're not owed that. I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. Why do you think you can push that on people? And when people do basically say, okay, good for you, it has nothing to do with me, God forbid that's a slight. When people are neutral about your situation, or maybe they're not nearly as ready to baby or coddle you in a certain situation, instead of just saying, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the right person to talk to, that's okay. You know, I have a support system and I have people who I can speak to on that, and I will move on from it. I'm in a work in progress. Maybe they don't appreciate that. No, we can't have that. No, you need to make sure that every single person that has to hear what you have to say needs to make sure that they consider everything that you've ever felt, and that they need to automatically accept anything you have to say. They need to automatically get nothing but a stage, a soapbox, and a microphone so they can say their pieces and do so without any level of criticism. Because anytime you talk to somebody, you have to remember you are talking to another human being. Out of the 8 billion that we have on this planet, you will get some feedback. Whether you like it or not, you're going to get feedback. So one of two things is going to happen. It's either you stay quiet or you choose to speak. I'm choosing to speak. I know I'm going to get backlash, but at the same time, I want to hear opinions because I want to see what the different variances are. That's something I appreciate about us as a species, is that it's the communication, it's the different levels of emotion, it's the different experiences that come to different conclusions. That's what makes us so unique. And yet, some people want an answer already set up for them. They have a cue card in the back of their skull that tells them this is the answer they better give me, or God forbid, I'm going to burn this entire city to the ground if I do not get that answer. That makes no sense. Who are you to put a cue card on anybody and anybody else's perspective? Who are you exactly? Why do you think you're that special? I know I'm not. Who gave you that pass? So, this doesn't come from a place of anger. It does come from a place of fire, though. It comes from a place of interacting with people and seeing their polarities and seeing one end of the spectrum of people actively working on themselves, trying their best. They're getting through their day-to-day, and they're going through circumstances that most of us will never have to deal with, and we should be very grateful not to have to deal with that. The other side that have lived in privilege, the other side that's lived in entitlement, in a bubble with safety nets, who you can't even sneeze in their direction before they crumple like paper, and then we wonder why we can't band together to do much of anything, why we have no real sense of community. We have groups, we don't have communities. There's a very big difference. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Actually, at this point, this was something that needed to be said. This is an interaction I had that is very personal, and yet it spurned a level of heat and energy that is being felt by those who interact and who understand what that means. And for those who understand it, I do hope this resonates with you. I really hope you know that no, you actually aren't alone in this. And that we've now lived in such a time where you cannot speak from a place of truth, open truth. Or should I say, we now live in a time where we can no longer speak from a place of honesty, not truth. In the manifestation journey, there is no such thing as what the truth is. The truth does not exist. Everything is a half-truth, so it can all be made up, it could all be malleable, it could all be changed. But honesty comes from a place of I'm truly just want to tell you the place that I'm sitting at. This is where I am now. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I am feeling. This is what I am seeing. Whether you choose to accept that truth is yours, and I can't make you feel or see any type of way. I can't make you do anything. However, what I am not going to do is give away my honesty just so you can feel better about yourself, especially if it's at the risk of me not being heard either. There's no point in those conversations. It is simple niceties. It is might as well sit at the water cooler and talk about the weather. That's the equivalent of how people speak, and I actively refuse to continue to do that. I'm refusing. So do what you will with this information, or don't. But maybe someone needs to start talking about it. Maybe we need to start talking about it collectively, and maybe we need to start taking off that veil of niceties, the veil of politeness. We need to be kind. Let's be kind. However, let's be honest. Why do we need to be so special so badly?